Think about the last decision in your organization that took longer than it should. No clear blocker, no formal escalation, momentum simply slowed. That's often written off as inefficiency. In practice, it's something more informative. It tells you how control is operating. Because risk doesn't always appear as an event, it shows up in how decisions move. Welcome back. You're listening to RiskMasters The Download, where I share bite-sized insights from our latest interviews. I wanted to share this clip from my conversation with Leroy Roberts because it focuses on a very practical signal: how the speed and clarity of decision-making reveal the state of risk culture and control effectiveness. And you're explicit that culture is not a value program, right? So it goes beyond. How do you define culture as a control in practical and observable terms?
Yes. So, and it goes back to that piece I mentioned before, where I mentioned this is the prevention piece before it reaches the HR process, before it reaches other escalatory points. And what we want to do is to sit with these business leaders and to identify some risk signals together and to use tools and a system to be able to track these and to measure these. And what we want to do, in fact, the promise really is we're not going to solve the problem within 90 days. But what we'll do is to be able to identify these risk signals and to be able to treat with them so that they don't escalate to the next step. And in so many instances, what we tend to see is that silent cracking, whereby it's happening, those signals were missed because there's a blind spot. And by the time we discover that there is a real issue here, in most cases, the train has already left the station and we have a bigger problem dealing with. And there are many spin-offs of that one thing.
And just for our audience, do you have any example of those signals, things that people tend to ignore and they should really pay attention to?
Yeah, so, and that is it. So with stuff like decision trap, do you have a named decision owner who owns this decision? When it comes to workarounds, how often do you have work not being followed through within the time agreed, and there are delays because expectations were not clearly communicated, and that lead to some of the issues we see. And these are key, that there is not clarity and people don't understand fully what needs to be done when it should be done. And then there's a natural knock-on effect. And these are some of the signals that we watch out for. But of course, there are others. And some of these signals will differ depending on the organization type.
Slower decisions are easy to explain. Workload, complexity, coordination, you name it. Look at them differently. They show how ownership is exercised, how escalation worked in practice, how comfortable people are taking decisions under pressure. That's where risk culture becomes visible. For chief risk officers and board directors, this is a usable signal in real time. You can listen to the full RiskMasters conversation with Leroy Roberts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or at vitium.com.
What's the right problem? And once we can find what the right problem is, then what we want to look at is the right person to partner with to ensure that we are treating well with that particular issue. And then we also want to identify the right exposure that come about if that problem is not exist. And so there's a step-by-step process because if you do not know what the issue is, or will you be able to identify the appropriate solution to fix it?